Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this. Let's start turning something on. Because this plugin is called Airwindows Hype. Now, I mentioned, I think earlier when I was putting together Console 8, that I had had an experiment that essentially I had an attempt at the treble softening that worked out not quite as expected. And it made the sound way brighter, and so I dialed that back, but I'm bringing it to you now. In fact, something I might try to do here is, long as I am doing it, let us just shut off all of our console stuff. And we'll have just a straight up raw mix of some of the things I have here. So that is a dry drums and bass. Now here's what we can do. We'll turn on Airwindows Hype. And then let's start adding them. So now we can hear what's going on with this. In fact, we're clipping that particular output quite hard. So that is what this plugin does. It is a strange little routine that was originally intended to be a treble softener, but what you can hear is that's not actually softening treble very well at all. Let's go and do that again. I'm doing it on both the bass and the drums. So here is our raw audio. You'll also note that the peaks get louder. And here we'll start turning on Airwindows Hype, more and more instances of it. Hear how that's changing the sound? And it's sort of darkening, but there's this overtone, this air and intensity in here. And it can become quite exaggerated. In fact, we can see, we're getting weird effects. We've got 4, 7, 9 instances of it in here. Oh, excuse me for that. Now we could also do that with some other sounds. For instance, I'll switch over to a guitar and we'll hear what that guitar does in the same position. And I will go and shut a bunch of these off. Don't mind me. This was designed to run in many places in the mix, just like the existing Console 8 softening. It just doesn't really do it properly. So if we do pad that a little bit. So, what do we get when we start throwing a whole bunch of hype on? And there we go. That's too many. It started clipping. And then we'll turn it off. I'm using Shift to turn all these off. And that's what the raw sound sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can hear, it is having an effect, and it's kind of like it's softening the sound, but there's a funny overtone in there somewhere. And that's why I'm calling it Airwindows Hype. The way it's doing it is it's like softening the sound, but there's an edge that sneaks in. It's sort of excessive sparkle and energy, and the highs are very much still there. And what we could do is let's do it for all of the tracks. Again, this is not a console mix anymore. I've taken that entirely out so that we can hear what the raw mix would sound like with it. And let's start adding hype instances. Firstly, on the mix bus, then on the raw tracks. As you can hear, this is an unusual little effect. Like I said, I could not use this for the treble softening on console 8 because it kind of doesn't. It doesn't really do the treble softening. But it's doing something interesting enough that I thought I would let you have it. And since it is a standalone plugin with no interface, you just put it on because it's fairly complicated inside, but it's just straight up a changer of the it's doing weird things with the transfer function. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's similar to what I ended up doing with the treble softening, but it's doing the treble softening in such a way that that doesn't actually work anymore. And you get this. And again, if we take all these out, listen to how it goes back to what is normal for these sounds. So it got sort of more edgy and beefier, but Airwindows Hype, it's like it's trying to soften things in a way, but in a way where this funny high frequency thing comes in and adds sparkle and glitter. And so since I wasn't able to make this work in Airwindows Console 8, and since it still is an interesting thing in its own right, here you go. Now you have it. Technically, you can put it inside a console mix. It's going to sort of do the thing that it does, which is add a little bit of softening, but in such a way that it's kind of heightening sparkle and air on top of things. And you do not have to use it with Console 8. You can use it anywhere you want. You can throw it into anything that you like. It'll have its funny little characteristic of kind of like softening, but also kind of like brightening and sparkle adding and so on. And I hope you like it. It's one of those weird little experiments. And you know, when I do those experiments and they don't come out the way that I expect, or there's something that I can't use, I try to let you have them anyway, because that's just how we roll. I thank you for the attention. And as you know, the reason I'm here doing these experiments and doing this kind of stuff is because I am supported by Patreon. Or more like, I'm supported by you, and Patreon is the way that I choose to manage that so people can sign up for it and so on. I would like to think of it in terms of if you would get one of these plugins if I was selling it, say for, I don't know, $50. That's how much I was charging, 10 years ago? And so why not keep it that way? And if you would get one plugin a year, you could sign on to the Patreon for $50 for the plugin and a perpetual license. Oh, and also you get the source code. Now that source code makes interesting things possible. In particular, I know somebody who is doing ports to a new plugin format called Clap. I'd promised that I would support Clap before, 2023? And then pulled back on that a little bit because there's a lot going on and I wasn't sure whether I was going to be keeping up with it. But that could happen. So basically I need to find out whether I can use their methodology. And if that is true, there might be a number of different things that I could add to the list of stuff that I support. I'll be asking about that, but more on that as it becomes obvious. For now, I hope you enjoy Airwindows hype. There are no controls, as you can see, and it's not the most obvious thing. I've had to stack up like 5 or 6 of these in order to make the sound really super obvious so you can hear what it's doing. But it's kind of like interstage or channel or something like that. It's one of those ones where if you want to get a particular kind of sound out of things and you want just a little touch of something, you can include it anywhere you like and see what you get out of it. And it is free because I'm Patreon supported, and I hope you like it. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.